Hey everybody, uh, welcome in this new episode of Juno Live. Already episode 16. Looks like the live stream is working, which is fine. I should maybe invest in a mic. I've noticed that the other day, which I did not had yet, but I should probably do that. But yeah, so let's tackle this today's episode. So we have two things to discuss, review, call it how you like today. One thing is I want to go through the new release and show you a bit what's new. And once we have done that, maybe, or for sure, we can update our demo app with the new release and then start working on pagination, which was a topic proposed by Richard. So yeah, let's do that. So yesterday I've released a new version, and one of the major change is the fact that recently the computation and so on cost has been increased on the IC. So as we discussed on Discord and OpenChat to reflect on those changes, I also updated the amount of cycles that is used to spin new satellites or orbiters. So I used to use 1,5, 1,2 or something like 1,1. And because I set 1,1, every new satellite was spin with something like 1 teracycles. But now, because it costs a bit more, I have to provision with 1,6 teracycles. And as a result, we also decided that we increased the price from 0.3 ICP to 0.4 ICP for new satellites and new orbiter. Still the same, like every new developer that starts has satellites for free, but the additional one. On the feature side, there is like a new interesting, I think, I hope you're gonna be agree. There is a new interesting features, which is how you call that? I did not update it yet, but doesn't matter. There is a new feature for data store and storage collection that is max update per minute. So this is something that exists, for example, in Internet Identity and also exists in the Juno console itself. It's a counter, basically, that lives in the smart contract, and you can configure it to say, I want to have so many tokens allowed for an amount of time, and you increase it, and once you reach the limit, then it throws an error. And that's, for example, useful in the console so that I can monitor how many new users there is. And for example, I could say I don't want more than 10 new users per minute, because if there are more than 10, it's probably an attack or something. So yeah. And to make this relatively understandable, I simplified the UI part where I just gives you the possibility to set a number for maximal updates per minute. So if here, for example, I put 100, that means that for that collection, I will allow 100 writes or 100 delete per minute, and the user that does 101 then crashes. And yeah, so it's an option, so you don't have to use it, but know that there is that option that you can kind of limit the number of things that happen in a collections per minute. And this is implemented for the data store and so on, but it's also implemented in the authentication. So here what I did is that I set like a limit per default for every new satellite, and that's gonna be 100. Actually, we can create one. Do I have Yeah, we can do that. So demo Juno live. So let's create one. And I guess it should take a second. Super. If I go to the authentication now, you will see that here I have max updates per minute. So per default now, it means that the authentication for any new satellites accept 100 new users, basically, here per minute. You can pop that up, pop them down as you wish. And yeah, I think it's kind of like a useful kind of security mechanism. Last but not least, you see here I've created that new user and or new satellites. And before that, when you had the new satellites, if you opened the URL in the browser, it was just failing with a 500 error or whatever ugly error we had. So what I done now is that like the stock satellite is spin with a default, I hope good looking HTML page. So if we open the satellites I just created and here, you see that we have like a nice page, and it gives you like the link that you can copy to create and spin a template, and you have a link to the documentation, to the integration, depending of what framework you want to use, some continuous integration, explanation, and a link to the community. I think it's useful. And to do that, I created a new repo, new template here, you see. So what it does, it's every time it builds, it generates an index page, and then when I build the satellites, I get that index page and I put it in the satellites, which is not the interesting part. But one thing maybe that is interesting to know is that I've set all these pages to be per default not crawlable, because of course, like if you just pin your project, you maybe don't want to have it out of the box indexed by Google, and we don't want to have a zillion times the same page indexed. And yeah, once it's deployed, you can remove the page, or if you do a deploy, the page will just be overwrite with your things. And yeah, what's also interesting is it's just an index HTML. There is nothing else. It's not yeah, that's it. So we have that, and yeah, so we have a new version of the console, a new version of the satellites. I've updated all the crates because there was some change in the shared section and so on. I updated all the JavaScript file because there were new interfaces and so on. There is a new version of the CLI to reflect also the same change. And I also bumped all my infrastructure to Node 22, so very there. I updated the plugins, and when I did so, I actually noticed that the Next.js template where do I have that? The Next.js template for the create here was still using Next 14, so I bumped to Next 15, and yeah, it's kind of nice to also have the last version. Means that in our templates, both Svelte and Next use the last version. What do we have more? I updated, of course, all the Docker images with the last version of the replica, and a few other small fixes. Yeah, that is something new too, which I still have to document, by the way. So we always have that function to delete one single document, or we add the function to delete many documents, like where you can specify, yeah, as it called, many documents. But we didn't have like a function that says, I want to delete all my documents that I don't know, like matches the key, whatever, and sorted by X. And yeah, so those two new functions basically take the same parameter as listing documents, but instead of list, they do delete. I don't know. I guess they have some limitation because you probably cannot like delete a Z in trees at the same times, but maybe it can be useful to some. And for the serverless function, there is also two new hooks. There is on init and on upgrade. It means that if you write serverless function, in addition to having those hooks that are triggered when a document or an asset are modified, you can also start something when for example an upgrade happens, and that's particularly useful. For example, if you want to have your own cron job or timer that runs, means that on init and on upgrade you can start your timer and do some stuff which was a bit more difficult before. Yeah, so kind of like not the smallest release, but not the biggest neither. All right, so if there is no question, I suggest that we what we don't know. No, I forget something, of course. So let me first delete this this demo that we just created because we don't need it. And there is one more thing. So last week we in Juno Live we had a look at the derivation origin. We have set up that, and in that derivation origin, it was always meant for derive with like a custom domain, you know. But maybe there is someone that want to change that, or someone like Remco who wants to and ask it if it's possible to set a derivation origin based on the satellite ID URL, and that wasn't possible. So I changed this. Means that, for example, I'm not gonna do it, but let's say that's our application, you know, and instead of having to hosting where you gonna set like redo the wizard to change the derivation origin, what you can do now is you go to authentication, and into the settings you're gonna have configuration, and here you can edit your configuration and change it. So for example, I say, oh, I want now to always log my user with this URL, then I can do it for them. Of course, you have to pay attention. That's why there is a warning, because if you already have user and then you change your derivation origin, the next time they sign it, they're gonna get a different principal and then they're not gonna retrieve their data. So yeah, so maybe something people want to set up when they start or something like that, but it's nice to have it as a configuration option. All right, so here that's our Doodle app, right? And I can actually not update it in the console because we have those serverless functions. So if I would update it in the console, it would use the default and then it would delete my code. So if I go here, you see, I have that warning that say, hey, are you sure you want to upgrade? Because you have some custom code there and it will be lost. So instead, we gonna just make the upgrade. I'm not gonna do the upgrade because I would have to open my password manager, but let's have a look how we do that. So I go to our project and I open it in my editor. Okay, and here close everything. And I'm gonna zoom. Hoopla. Right, okay. It's not easy to set the zoom. Right. Good, so I'm on main. I guess I got all the last changes. And I want to update the project. So what I need to do is I go to my serverless backend, and here I gonna, of course, here it's because I'm using Rust Rover. It already show me all the dependencies that are not up to date, but if I go to the version, I will find the same information. So here, this Juno build satellites will be updated to 21. Here, storage 12, collection to 9. Yeah, I guess you understand what we are doing, right? So shared 22, macros 3, and here utils I need to do it too because that was in a previous release. Oh, sorry. Here utils previous release, macro it's the new release. And that's not something that is documented, but I think I should find a way to document that. Actually, I also updated in Juno. If we go to the source code, you see I also updated the ICCDK to last version. I think it's written here and there, but it's not clear what version. So I need to improve that documentation. But nevertheless means that here and here we want to update, right? Okay. And if I build now, I guess it will fail or succeed, no idea. So it's always the same. Yeah, tac. Okay. And yeah, takes a bit of time because there was like one bit of things to update, right? And I guess it's gonna fail. I'm not sure, but I would say that it should fail, no? No, okay, that's nice. Ah, okay. It doesn't fail because we already disabled all the features here. Okay. You know, like since there are those new function here, there are also hooks. So I would have expect the build to tell me, but those hooks are not implemented. But since we are already disabled all the default features, then it's fine. We don't care about it. All right. So here we see it. It happened and it has. All right. So probably just because I have to format things. So here there is no change, but yeah, like the new version of the CLI automatically adds a comment to say that the file is automatically generated. That way we are aware that this is dynamically generated. So I'm not gonna do that. There is like those new function that I told you about, and yeah. So yeah, that's typical. Typical things. So here we're gonna reinject this and that. Okay, and then we are good. So update Juno satellites 0021, right? And yeah, as I told you, once I've made the upgrade, what I would have to do is like I would build my my satellites, and then I would have to upgrade it manually. So I would have to make Juno upgrade minus source that file minus target my satellites, and then that would do the upgrade. But of course, if I do it right now, I'm gonna be asked about my password, and then I have to open my password manager, and I'm streaming, and I don't want to do that, but I will do it afterwards. All right. Great. So first to note that about all these things, like you see, I still have some work to do to document what I presented to you. And I also have like somewhere I should have a task that says better document the or to deploy or to update. I think, yeah, that's the one. So I'm gonna do that now. I mean, no, not in that particular call, but yeah, soonish, like in the next few days. All right, so we are good. We can go to what happened here. Yes. I guess it's the build, right? Okay, yeah, we can discard that for now. Anyway, all right. Okay, great. So what we wanted to tackle today is the pagination, right? So I'm starting the backend, I'm starting the front end, and I'm gonna sign in here. Right. Yeah. So you see here we have like zillion of entries, and yeah, like we did lots of tests, and that would be like a nice candidate. I think it's the right word to implement some infinite scroller for pagination. And I think we're gonna go with pagination with buttons because that's a nice way to explain it without adding the mumbo jumbo of implemented our own scroller. So let's have a look where we have that. I guess we have a list docs somewhere here. Okay. So if we look at what we get when we list the data, so yes, we have the data, but we also have some more information. So what do I get? I get the number of items on the three, items per page. So if I do like pagination, it's gonna tells me, and also the matches length and the matches patches. So let's have a look at the documentation. List documents. So blah 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 blah. Is the result documented? Collection, filter, that's what we're gonna use. And usage. So we got the items, which are the data. We have the items length, which is the overall length, how many documents we have in the collection for that much is the query. if the query is paginated, we're gonna have the number of page available. That's the total number of matching results if we do some filtering. And if the query is paginated, we got the total number starting. So yeah, let's start building something. First of all, I think is if we want to have pagination, we need to have a particular sort order. Because if the data are always delivered in another order, then we cannot have that pagination since we want to have a reference to always take the next batch, right? But what, as a reminder, what we want to do is we have a list of entries, right? And what we want to do is like, we want to first list those, and then if I click next, then I want to list those, and if I click next, I want to list those, and if I click back, I want to list those, and so on, right? So to do that, we always need to have like a reference on that particular entry and say, I want the element that start after this one, so that you have this, and then you do the same again, give me after this one, and so on. Sorry. So first things we want to have like a constant order. So for the order, we're gonna have desk or not, so let's say true, and we want to have a specific key for the field, so we're gonna filters on the, we are sort on the keys. Okay. Let's do invert, which is correct. I'm not sure what's happening, what dates I'm using here. Ah, but that's, yeah. Anyway, okay. Then we need like that particular reference, right? Which is the start after. And if we have a look here, matcher, it's like a filter. It's what do we want. Then the paginate, we want the start after. That's the one we are looking for. So let's create start after reference, right? Which is gonna be string or undefined, and gonna be a state. Okay. And here we do paginate. We say limit, we want 10 per 10, for example, right? And start after. Okay. Right. So here what it does is start after is not defined, so it gives me from the begin. And limit 10 is because I want 10 entries. So now we are here. Okay? Great. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna use those. Here I know I got like element 0, 10 elements, and I got 10 elements on this page, and there are a total of 103. So what we want to do now is we want to take this one, the last element, and get the reference. So what we're gonna try is here start after. It will need some iteration, right? But matches pages. Let's call it like that. So what we do is on the data, we take matches pages. It's a big git. Yes. So here that's an array, and we let me print that. That will be more graphical. It's an array, so we want to access the last element to get the key. So what we do is start after is that array. Let's call it like that. Oh no, I'm gonna use undefined just in case it's undefined. So on the last position, 9, I want the key. And I guess that's a number. That's why it's complaining. Ah, it's possibly undefined. Okay, so let's do that here. We're gonna do and here no, it's complaining because it's a big int. So I wasn't that wrong. Any okay, so oopla. So if we have a look now, oh, that's nice. We have like an endless loop. Funny. Why is that? It's because I'm setting start after, and each time I set start after, it will restart. So we're not gonna use a state because we don't want to start automatically. We just want to save the value. All right. So let me do it again. So that is the right one. Okay. So now we gonna add a button. So here I got the table. So the table is here. So let's that next. Where is it? There. Okay. So oh, do we have a component button? Oh yeah, we have. So okay, and why is complaining? Because you want a non-click, and here we're gonna do next and next, and here let's do a function next. Okay, and when we click next, what we want to do is we want to call list again. That's basically it. So okay, nice. You see, so when I click, it goes to list, and in list, what it does, it has the start after. So each time it gets the new entries. Okay? But of course, at some point, I don't want to go further. And here, I guess if I click next, it's gonna fail. Yeah, it even starts again from 0. It's nice. But what we want is to say, we have reached the limit, and I should not be able to go next further, right? So what we need is a button, let's say, let next enabled, okay? And we do, here we do a state, which is enabled per default. And what we're gonna do is, so when what is next enabled? So what we do is like if the we have that limit here, huh? Okay. So if the number of matches equals the limit, then we can, it means that we still have data to fetch. If the matches are smaller, means there is no more data to fetch. So what we can do is then we can have a if here. Right. So I like when it doesn't work. Why is that? Because I don't have it's item length. And item length is the number of documents per item length if the query is paginated, the total number of matching results, the total query is paginated, the total number of the page. Okay. So sorry. Let's have a look. Where is my console? Oh, and we have matches pages. Let's do that. So what do we have? We have 10 and 10, 10 and 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and here we have 10 and 3. Okay, interesting. So that means that we need to, right, so here we're gonna, this. All right. And then we need previous button, right? So we do something similar. Okay, and here we're gonna do, they're basically the same. I think so. Yeah. No, what we do is first the previous button, item pages. So we want to have the page, yes. So here we had the items page. When we get a page that is bigger than 0, then we can go previous, right? When it's not the first page, what's that? When it's not the first page, I don't have previews, but as soon as I go to the next page, then I have a previous button, right? Okay. And what do we want to do when we previews? So when we hit previews, so let's say we are here, when we hit previews, or let's say even that we are here, what we want to do is we want to list those. So that means that we need to have this pointer that is here. Yeah, basically. So we always need to keep track, for example, of what was the previous start after, which is a bit weird. But yeah, so we have start after. We call it start before. Why not? So let's call it like that. So let's call it like that. So the first time we list, start before and equals the previous start after. Okay. And then when I come, I say, oh, that was the previous one. Yeah, that's not too bad. The only things now that we need to have, it's a bit like pseudocode right now. I have to think. The things we need to do is like when I click previous, I basically need to set that one to this. And when I click next, I need to click to say from start after. Okay. So let me think 2 seconds. Back. So what we can do is when we get when I click start after, I want to do that, but when I click start before, yeah, that's gonna be really ugly code, but basically here I think I should do that. I don't so next. No. Wait. Funny. So Q0 so is the last. No, that's not correct. That's the first. Yeah. So and here we set the item. So start after we take it. So it should be. Let me 2 seconds to think. All right. So we have undefined and A09. And now we have yeah, all right. So and we should have undefined. It's always one page less, I guess. So and I feel like having like you go to an exam to get a job. It's not my day. I think I started the wrong way. Let me show you. So start before is undefined, which is nice. Then if I click next, I still have undefined. So if I click previous, that works, right? Okay, that works. It's a start. Now, if I click next, before should become this one here. So okay, F9. So if I click here, should be undefined, but before, if I click next, should become one, I guess. There is something fishy in my code. It's funny that I implement the platform and I have trouble to implement that. So here we are, after this, undefined for before. That's correct. If I click next, then which page am I? I'm lost. Next, I got undefined. Start after this one, which is correct. But now, actually, I lose track of the one which is actually blah blah blah. So which is correct. So, yeah, it's always one before. When I click next, I fetch the next, and before here I have the next, which is wrong. It's like two before, right? So a bit dumb. How am I gonna do that? It's a bit dumb. So it's undefined, and when I click to go to next, it's still undefined. And when I click to go, let's think graphically. That's my first. That's gonna be when I click sequence, my pointer should be on undefined. And when I click the third, my pointer should become this one, which is the previous start after, and not this one, because that's like. And when I go to next, start after has become this one, but this one should become this one, right? Okay. And how do I put that together is like, let's start. When I click the first time next, when I list the first time, I got this and I got that. And if I click next, this one becomes this one, and this one should remain like, right? So that's the ugly code I put together before. And if I click next, this one goes here, and this one goes there. But I lose that information before. Yes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna track that. So is the first time page, it's undefined. It's the first page. I click next, and this one remains. And I already lose the information. That's a bit dumb. Yeah. So let's. I'm missing something. I'm pretty sure. We want to have the key. We're just gonna save the two last keys, I guess. Yeah, that's a solution. Okay, we're gonna do that. It's start before is always start. Okay, so that when I come here, is this. Then I click, this one become this one, but this one become this one. Okay, but now if I click before for the first time, start after should become undefined. So okay, so just the naive code, right? So next, previous, next, previous. Okay. Now we are here, and this one becomes here, and this one becomes there. No, actually, this one remains here, and here, this one, that. Okay. Okay. So let's do that. First page, it's undefined. Here, I'm on the first page, it clicks undefined, but I need to save this one too. So we're gonna introduce a new one, which we're gonna call start YOLO, since I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So at the start, they are like this. Okay. Start YOLO. Okay. Then I click on this one, and this one remains there, and this one becomes this one. So this one should now be set to undefined if the what were we using the items page, right? So if items page, okay. Okay. And then here, if I click this, I go here, then start YOLO becomes this, which is nice. but that's not gonna work the next time I click there, which is that. So yeah, you know what? I'm gonna solve that for next week because I already have implemented that here, right? We see here that we have a pagination. So not sure where I've implemented that. Yes, exactly. So I take the ID. All right, I see. All right. I clear that for next week and we continue to implement that function. So nevertheless, I hope it was an interesting event. Sometimes it takes a bit more time to do stuff. And enjoy your week. Speak soon. Bye bye.